I'm Tony, and today we're going to chain piece. Chain piecing is a technique that you can use in order to speed up your sewing if you're sewing a whole bunch of pieces at one time, kind of like what you do with my patterns. So I'm going to show you how we're going to chain piece and separate all that stuff. My pattern, I have 6 rows laid out, and I have all the pieces for each row pinned together, and this is what we're going to chain piece today. Chain piecing, like I said, is a more efficient way of sewing. There are 3 different reasons why you want to chain piece. The first is it's more efficient, it's faster. The second is it saves you on thread. If you're constantly cutting the thread, pulling it, you're using all that extra thread and you have all those extra dangly bits hanging around. We don't want that. You don't want that extra thread hanging around if you don't have to. And the third reason is actually helps to lock in seams. So on your seam, I'll show you after we chain piece, you'll see it's going to be locked in a lot better than if we were to start sewing right here. You would see a little gap, a little opening. That's what we're going to avoid. So there are 3 really good reasons. The first thing whenever you're chain piecing is put a piece of scrap fabric in. The scrap fabric helps lock it in before and after and allows you to be more efficient. So we don't have to start right here and have that little open bit here. So use your scrap fabric, bring it all the way out to the end so it's clear. You notice how I have all these little threads because I use the same scrap fabric a lot. Make sure your scrap fabric is completely free from the machine. Do not cut it. Keep it in there. Then take your piece of fabric you're sewing, put it in right up against that needle and touching or just shy of touching your plate if you're using a 1/4 inch foot with guide. This is my favorite foot to make sure that I'm sewing a perfect 1/4 inch every single time. Then we can take out that first pin and start sewing. Make sure as you get close to your pins, take your pins out. Do not sew over your pins. Trust me, if you hit a pin, it will not only, it could damage your machine, it could throw off your timing, it has so many more issues. Then let's take the second piece of fabric and we're going to lift up our presser foot, put the fabric in. Now you notice how this piece of fabric is completely clear. It's not underneath that needle at all. This is important. You have to have space between your pieces. If you don't have space, it's going to be harder to separate them. So let's put our next piece in, touching our needle, close or touching our guide right here. And let's remove that pin. And sew through. And let's remove this pin. Now I'm going to do this for all of the pieces that I have in my row. And I'll sew them all off camera and come back and show you the next step of how to separate them. All of my pieces are now sewn together and we have a chain, and this is why it's called chain piecing, because you have a large chain. Now there's 2 ways to separate your pieces now. You can take your scissors. Of course, I love Famore, which is an amazing, awesome, fantastic brand of scissor. Link is in the bottom. They're just an amazing, amazing thing. I actually have a coupon code that you can get discounts off of any of the Famore products. So these are my favorite ones. They're actually ergonomic. They don't hurt my fingers if I have to sew for long periods of time. So you can actually separate all of your chained pieces and cut one by one. Now, that's going to take time. It's a long, long time. So what I like to use is the Cutting Gizmo by Gypsy Quilter. Gypsy Quilter makes cool, innovative things that actually help the productivity of your sewing. So this is a cool little thing. It actually is just a seam ripper edge put into a block of plastic. That's it, but watch. Whenever I separate my chains, you see how fast this is? And this is not expensive. It's actually pretty inexpensive and fast, and everything is separated. Thank you so much for watching. Now you can chain piece too. Don't forget to like this video, follow my YouTube, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget about Twitch, where you can sew with me and interact with me live.